What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Hosley, and last week I went to MegaCon, and I got to see Bryce Dallas Howard from like a distance. It was cool.
That is not the Howard I would have expected you to stalk.
Clint?
Yeah.
Is it Clint? Yeah. Well, Clint had the shortest line, so I could have made that work. Unfortunately, I actually was going there to meet Ella Purnell, from like Fallout and Yellow Jackets, but her line was like 3.5 hours, so I was like, yeah, fuck that, never mind.
Oh, damn.
I hope you joined Clint's short line and a massive fiberglass ice cream cone to be signed by him.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome, but because it's me, it would have been 3 from hell, not the ice cream man.
Yeah, that's because. Anyway,
fair enough.
I'm Dave Gray, and this week I learned it doesn't matter how often you see him in something. Doesn't matter how much he chews on the scenery and drools on himself. Always and forever, one of our most overrated actors on earth will be the absolutely atrocious pit of suck that goes by the name Kevin Spacey.
I'm Kevin Matthews, Scottish film fan living in England, and this week I saw some tasty photos that remind me of the fact that the LL and LL Cool Dave stands for Ladies Love Cool Dave. So thanks for those photos, Dave.
I wish they did, but
What do they stand for?
No, it does stand for Ladies Love Cool Dave, but
okay.
they just don't love Cool Dave. It's a lie. It's a. They do love Cool James, though. Bastard.
I love Cool Dave.
Well, yeah, but
Cool Dave's the best.
You're not a lady, so it only half counts.
Well,
I mean,
Fine.
Sorry. I don't make the rules. Tyler does.
Tyler. Hi, I'm Craig, film nerd living in England. English film nerd living in England. I have to live in England. I'm English. Well, congratulations to you guys on your 400th episode and my 12th. So exciting times. And welcome to Raiders of a Podcast. Yay! I did not watch much this week. I had to watch 4 films this week, which is just too much for me these days. So I only squeezed in 2 others. I watched for Bikeriders yesterday, the biker crime drama from Jeff Nichols. I was quite excited for that because Jeff Nichols hasn't done anything for ages, and I always kind of liked him. But it was pretty awful. It was just very shallow and dull, just thoroughly uninvolving. And it was frustrating because it had a good cast, like the main cast. Well, no, the supporting cast were really good. You got Michael Shadden, you got Aussie actor Damon Herriman, who's always good in everything. Emery Cohen, who's been popping up a lot and stuff recently and being really impressive. I really liked the supporting cast, but they were kind of weighted in favour of the big 3, and that was Austin Butler, who I haven't seen anything else. So this is my first bit of Austin Butler, apart from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which he's not in very much. But my first proper big role for Austin Butler, and I assume he does more than smoke cigarettes and pout in other films. But
no, that's all he did in Elvis also.
Oh, well, there we go. He was very boring. And then Tom Hardy. I love Tom Hardy in a silly accent. But watching him and Jodie Comer have this kind of silly accent competition was just kind of aggravating. And those 3, it's not really their fault. There wasn't a single part. There wasn't a single part that was well written for anyone. Nothing happens in this. It's 110-minute 0 stakes biking montage, just full of nothing. The characters were so 2-dimensional. It was I don't know what happened to Jeff Nichols because he disappeared for a while, and I assume I thought maybe he was working on this. Maybe this is going to be some sort of epic, but no, he just pops up to put out a real dud and has disappeared again. This is a shame, but no, don't watch the Bikeriders. I know Tyler did not like the Bikeriders.
I did not. I was looking forward to that one too, and it was a big old letdown.
Yeah, and Kevin gave it, I think, half a star more than I did. So
Yeah, I just thought it was a straight down the middle 5 out of 10 film, mainly because of me hoping for the best from that cast all the way through it.
Kevin gave it a 5.
Yeah.
Think how much that must hurt the average person.
Hmm?
I just kept waiting for like something worthy of the director or the cast, and there was nothing. It's such a nothing film. Is the best way to describe it. It's so uneventful and dull. Ugh. And I was really looking forward to it, so I'm a bit bummed about that. But it was the same week that I rewatched The Godfather for like the 1000th time, and it's Godfather's very good, very very good film. Like obviously the cast are amazing, and it looks beautiful, and the filmmaking on display, the craftsmanship is just out of this world. It's just, and there are so many moments in The Godfather. Oh fuck, I love this bit. And you can find yourself saying that like every 5 minutes. Oh fuck, it's this bit, it's this bit, it's this bit. And it's a really, weirdly, it's just a weird, really kind of good old school crowd pleaser. It's not like a piece of, a complex piece of art. It's a crowd pleaser, and it really just does that job. It just gives you everything that you want from it. But I did come away from it thinking like, what is it about The Godfather that made it the film? The film of this American cinema in the 70s. Why did The Godfather become so huge? Because it's a great fucking movie, but there are a hundred movies just as good, just as deserving. But for some reason, it was The Godfather, and I get it because it's great, but also I don't get it because so many other films could have had the similar reputations. I feel like there must be some context to go with the content, maybe timing. I don't know. I wasn't around then, Dave.
Yeah, I wasn't either, but it is the first mob movie like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it because everybody copied it immediately.
Yeah.
Like there was no wait. It was like Godfather and then all the sons of Godfather. They were going to happen anyway. I mean, because Scorsese was coming up at the same time, but I think it got out of the gate first at a moment where that exploded.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I prefer all of Scorsese's mob films just because they have. I just prefer their vibe. I just prefer their dirty kind of vibe. But I do love The Godfather, and I love Godfather 2, and I'm glad that both of those films are made, and there was no need for a third part or a television series about the making of first part or any of that shit. But yeah, I really like The Godfather, but that's me. Like I said, I did not watch very much this week.
I can't recall if I mentioned it to you before, Craig, or if you've seen it already, but The Order is now on Amazon Prime. I think that would really be your jam.
It is. It's on my list. I've only seen 2 of the director's films, but I loved Snowtown and I loved Knit Ram. So yeah,
Yes.
Justin Kurzel, that's it.
Yeah,
so I'm
and
definitely
this
up for
this is in line with his style for those rather than the missteps he made with Michael Fassbender and Leadville. So really good cast,
that.
really
What
good
was
story.
that?
Like he did Assassin's Creed, and he did a version of Macbeth.
Okay, I have got that Macbeth tucked away somewhere, but I haven't watched it.
Most people
Okay,
like
Fucking
it.
Assassin's Creed, man.
Yeah.
How do you fuck
Anyway.
that up? That should have been like a slam dunk. So fucking easy to be fun, and they just. What the fuck? How do you fuck that up? Sorry.
Michael Fassbender didn't fuck his career by apparently being like a jealous, violent piece of shit. He just picked shitty movies. He's a really, really talented guy, an awful man apparently, but a really, really talented guy who could have gone on to big things. But God, he chose some absolutely dismal films.
He was doing so well for a while that everybody completely forgot or glossed over certain major incidents in his past that they would hang others out to dry for.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
he's gone a bit quiet, although he is in the Kneecap movie, so Kneecap is an argued movie. Maybe he's gone back to smaller stuff now, I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, I dived back into the world of Marvel this past week. So Dave will be pleased to know I pleased Daddy Dave once again. I finally watched the Miss Marvel TV show. I watched it all,
Yay!
only 6 episodes. It's really fun. It's really got a great energy. I like the soundtrack. I like the sort of graffiti style visuals. The lead, whose name I forget, I want to say Iman Vellani. That may be right, but I could be completely wrong. But she's wonderful. So having watched that, I then thought, I can finally watch the Marvels, which is okay. And it benefits from her being in it. But it was just weird to go into a Marvel movie without having watched loads of movies leading up to it. And I'm still watching it thinking, all right, is there other stuff I should have watched before this? Am I going to immediately want to watch a movie or two and another TV show after this? I wasn't entirely sure. So that was nagging at me, especially because I don't think the Marvels has the best script when it comes to setting up another relatively weak villain, and it just feels like a kind of stopgap. So it was probably unfortunate for the timing for it with that one as well. But there's some fun stuff in there. And then there's a bit where they visit a planet where everyone sings. But the people can talk if they're bilingual. And it just didn't work at that point. But I liked all the stuff with Miss Marvel in it. And I liked the scenes with them, the three main characters sort of working together, because the plot has them sort of swapping places as they use their powers. And I liked everything with Miss Marvel's family. The Samuel L. Jackson was fun. It was fun. It just wasn't great. But it wasn't as bad as, say, anything like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania or whatever.
But also, let's be fair, and this is going to piss people off, but none of the Marvel movies are great. I said it.
Oh, no.
A lot of them are fun. A lot of them are trash. But none of them are great. So if great is your bar, I think you're coming at it from the wrong angle. Is all I'm saying.
No, I had fun with it. I think, I disagree. I think some of them are great for the type of movie entertainment they are. Especially, I think my favourite's still the first or second Captain America movie. They tend to tie for me. I really like the old-fashioned action from Joe Johnston in the first one.
But is it great? It doesn't do anything interesting. It's just a fun action film that you forget about immediately.
One that I don't really like, that I thought had a good chance of being great, was Black Panther. I thought there's someone who's got a vision.
The first half was so close, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I remember sort of not liking the second one as much, especially because there's that guy who's like Marvel's version of Aquaman with little wings on his feet, which was odd.
Namor,
flippers.
the Submariner.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but I need to rewatch it because I didn't write down my full thoughts on it. You'll be excited to know that, as promised last week, after I'd recorded with you guys, I was made to watch Kinda Pregnant with Vicky. And as predicted, she found it hilarious when Amy Schumer went to a yoga class full of pregnant women and they all farted. That was comedy gold. I thought I was going to have to pick her up off the floor after a minute. But I've got to admit, I chuckled a few times. I quite enjoyed it. It was fine. It was better than I expected, and it helps that the potential love interest is played by Will Forte, who I really like, and he was good in it. It does have this, obviously, this running kind of commentary about how people put mothers and expectant mothers on pedestals. It was kind of good with how it did that. I enjoyed it. So there. I expected pain. I did not get that pain. I recently had quite a time of it with, again, Vicky's buying all Lego, so I'm like, okay, I have to sit through. I have to sit through Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, which did. We went to see that, and you know what? I think it might be my second favourite of the series. Craig will be glad to know that there's some more fine comedy from Hugh Grant in there, just enjoying his absolute maximum CAD era. And yeah, it's like just really good fun, consistently amusing, but then takes you on that slight roller coaster of emotions with what it deals with as well. Renée Zellweger is still fun in the main role. Chiwetel Ejiofor is there in a main supporting role, and the whole plot strand with her maybe getting on with a toy boy love interest is quite fun as well. I don't think any of you will be rushing to watch that, but if you're made to
I've
watch
seen
it,
none of the sequels.
it's
None
an
of them.
enjoyable time. Paddington in Peru was finally watched.
Ooh.
It is the least of the Paddington movies. I still had a smile on my face by the end, and figured it was sweet and enjoyable enough to have made it worth my time. So yeah, I did kind of want it to be a bit better, but I think you sort of remove a bit of the charm when you take Paddington out of London anyway, and take him sort of back to Peru. But you've got Antonio Banderas having fun in a supporting role. Olivia Colman is fun, and it's very cute, and it feels very deliberate when Paddington is giving the message about the difference between where he's from and where his home is, and who his family are, and that he is brown. That's a very pointed line towards the end of the film, and I'm like, yeah, I'm all for Paddington keeping this message running through all the movies, while all the parents are just like, oh, my kids love Paddington the bear, and you just say, yeah, because they are more accepting of a little story who got to the UK more than half of you are. Anyway, sorry, I'll try not
But does
to
he fuck?
highly
I think that's what we
politicize
all want to
that.
know.
Sorry?
3 films in, does he fuck?
Oh,
Does he get laid? Come
I
on.
didn't see any hardcore Paddington action.
Damn it.
Sorry, he's still just easily distracted by the marmalade sandwiches, which I know can be involved with the kind of porn that Tyler watches as well, but isn't a big part of Paddington's sex life.
I think Tyler dated a lady called Marmalade.
And
Probably.
and then
I say dated.
we got home, and available for rental was Better Man, which is known to us as the film about Robbie Williams where he's played by a monkey. I say known to us that way because I've been finding out more and more recently that Robbie Williams is pretty unknown through the rest of the world. Better Man was really good. It's I don't know if you realise, Craig, it has Steve Pemberton.
Well, I do like Steve Pemberton.
Yep. I'm
not going to watch a Robbie Williams movie for Steve Pemberton.
I can see. I can see why this didn't do well at cinema, other than the concept, because every time Robbie Williams started a fucking song, Vicky started singing along. I was like, I'm listening to Robbie. I don't want to hear you in my left ear as well. And if every guy had that quandary about going to see a cinema, they would just be like, no, I'm not going for the on-screen equivalent of some big hen night bash. It would just be a nightmare. But the film is good. It actually works well with the conceit of having him as the monkey in the middle of everything. And I think it does allow them to do scenes that wouldn't have worked as well otherwise. it was really good. I think it falls down most of all when it's having other characters who are being played by people, and you're just told like, oh, that's so and so, who's someone quite famous, or there's Liam Gallagher's in it at one point, for example. Robbie mentions Liam Gallagher in the meeting. You just think, nah, I don't buy an impression done by someone trying to be Liam Gallagher in the late 90s. I'd rather there were more monkeys, which is something I say surprisingly often while we're watching movies. But I said it with this. But yeah, it was good, particularly, obviously, if you know something about the man in the middle of it, and I guess with his honesty and well documented ups and downs in the UK.
For the last 10 years, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I've pumped all my money into a Ronan Keating biopic where he's played by a sea cucumber, and I'm a bit worried about how Better Man's gone down. I don't think I'm going to make my money back, am I?
Well, if you can get just a concept drill out there with the tagline "Life really is a roller coaster," you are set, my friend.
Okay.
I mean,
well, I know you'll watch it. I know you'll watch it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make £3.50 along the line.
That's me.
I had a pretty short week. I watched a movie that we covered before. If you cast your mind back to June 26th, 2021, the Dave end of the month special. I watched the 1989 classic The Wizard, which I have great fondness for. I watched it because Super Mario Brothers 3 came out 35 years ago this week, and that made me feel very old. So I watched that and wondered if Jenny Lewis is where my thing for redheads started, and probably. So I watched that. That was fun. And I watched a newer film. I watched Heart Eyes, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I really liked the main couple. They were adorable. Their meet cute was really good. They worked well together. I think the movie ran a bit longer than it should have. It kind of falls apart at the very end because it's pretty solid until you see characters and you go, oh, they're the killer. And then the movie goes, no, they're not. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm kidding. Yes, they are. Fuck you. And I was just like, oh, well, yeah, okay. I would have preferred some more Michaela Watkins as Crystal Kane in the movie than this. Give me, the last 20 minutes of them being cute again instead of this dumb shit. Which is a shame because up till that point, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't quite gory enough. Way too much of it is off screen. But it was fun. And what was on screen was fun. And the little bits of extreme blood were fun. And the couple were fun. So, fun. It was fun. Like, it's not great. It's not going to join the all-timers. But it is maybe the number 2 Halloween slasher or Valentine's Day slasher that's out there. Number 2, I say, because I also watched Lover's Lane, and that just sucked. That was just bad and dumb and dull to the point that I had forgot that I had seen it until just now while talking. I went, oh yeah, I watched something else before Hard Eyes. I watched Lover's Lane, which is about a one-handed man who might have murdered somebody, escaping from a mental institution and starting to kill the children of his victims. Potential victims, maybe victims. It's just not good. Now this one, all the violence is off screen except maybe 1 or 2 moments. The real problem is the cast is generally terrible. Some aren't bad, like the mean girl is played by Sarah Lancaster, who's usually solid when she pops up. And another one is played by Anna Faris, who I enjoy Anna Faris. And the goofy friend is played by Billy O'Sullivan, who's been around for fucking ever and is, he's fine also. I don't think he's done any I don't think he's done anything for like 20 years though. He's one of those guys when you see him you go, "Oh, hey, it's that dude." And like they're fine, but the problem is they're second string to two of the absolute worst actors I have ever seen. And they get very little screen time, and we're stuck instead with the worst actors I've ever seen who have no chemistry. So on top of there not being good kills, we have to deal with these two. Bleh, that kind of drags it all down, and it's a shame because there could have been something fun there. It just didn't come together, and I'm surprised nobody saw that it wasn't coming together long before they finished filming. A fun thing, though, is every vehicle in it except like one or two. I think there's like an ambulance and the cop drives an Isuzu. Every other vehicle is an Olds 98. One of them might be an 88. But they're all the same model of Oldsmobile. Just in different colors, which it's fucking hilarious to me. I used to have an Olds 88 Delta. I loved it. I called it the Death Trap. It was my uncle's. My dad bought it.
That Evil Dead car.
Yeah. Well, it is an Evil Dead car, but it was the 80s version. And that's what they're driving this. They're all driving the same beat up 1980s era 88. Well, it's the 98, which is 3 inches longer. I had one and I loved it. We called it the Death Trap. So my dad bought it off him. Then I had it for a while, and my brother had it for a while, and I had it again. It was falling apart from the day we got it, and it lasted another 20 years until the engine caught fire in 2006. That's some nice guy stopped to help us and decided to try to put the fire out with windshield wiper fluid. Do you know what's very flammable? Windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody lose like all the hair on their face before, but I did that time. He was okay, but he had no eyebrow. He had a mustache, and it just went. Yeah, don't pour windshield wiper fluid on a fire. That's me.
My Bloody Valentine is the good, the 80s one. Yeah, that's the number one.
Yeah, that's the number one.
Of course, check.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler's gonna be like, no, it's Valentine, but Tyler's a liar.
I do love Valentine.
Tyler would go for the Bloody Valentine remake.
Oh, I much prefer the remake to the original. But I still like the original a lot too. The original I would have loved if they would have actually shown the fucking kills, like any of them. I know there's a work print that hasn't restored, but you have to watch a special feature to see them. And the original is like almost bloodless. So I still like it though. But Valentine, yes,
it is. But it has a lot of charm, and there's a Blumhouse remake coming. I'm actually surprised it didn't hit this year. Yeah.
The one thing I never really understood about the original My Bloody Valentine is, those are like 30-year-old people. Why are they going to a fucking dance? I mean, is that a Canadian thing? They have dances
they're not 30. They're supposed to be teenagers. It's the early 80s, and that's what teenagers looked like back then. I've learned that from old movies. It wasn't until the 90s that teenagers started looking like teenagers do now. Before that, they looked like...
I've seen that clip from My Dinner with Andre, and Sean Wallace is like talking about how he's 35. I'm like, what? No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're like 57.
Yeah, people used to age differently. I mean, look at fucking... look, I am not a John Hughes fan, but let's be fair. The kids in... the Breakfast Club, only 2 of them look like teenagers.
No, it's true. It's true.
But they are, so
Grease, Kaneki looked like he was at least 46.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, didn't Porky's, wasn't there a third Porky's movie that had the kids that already looked in the mid-20s in the first Porky's movie?
Yes, yeah, there is.
I've got to submit exams, man. No, you've got to deal with your second divorce and your mortgage.
It's funny because I never really, I didn't think the original My Bloody Valentine, they never came across as teenagers. I thought because they were like mine workers, so I just didn't know they were fucking teenagers. So I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. So because they completely removed that from the remake. So
back in the day, you start working at the mine at 10. And if Trump has his way, they will again. So
What do they mine
Yay.
for in Canada?
Coal.
Okay. Not very interesting, but yeah. Or maybe something like really Canadian, like, you know, those chips with gravy on them.
Yes, they mine for poteen.
They
Yeah,
also
there you go. Cheese
they're
curds.
striking oil if they tap into a rich vein of maple syrup. That's what they do.
They mine for poteen and hockey players. Didn't you know all hockey players are mined? They're not born.
I also saw Hard Eyes, which I loved it. It was a great mix of just rom-com and slasher. As Dave said, the two leads are wonderful. Two of the most likable leads I've seen in a good minute. They're great. It's got some fun kills, a good sense of humor. The killer looks fucking awesome. I love that costume. I love that mask. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that one. And I finally finished The Deuce next to Euphoria. It's my favorite HBO show ever. Love that show. So good. And I started Yellow Jackets a couple days ago. Finally, I'm 4 episodes in so far, and I'm really digging it. Cast is great. Love Ella Purnell, Juliette Lewis, the girl from Companion, which I'm slipping on her name all of a sudden. Shit, what the fuck's her name? Companion. She's in
Sophie
Margaret
Turner.
Thatcher.
Thatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thatcher.
She's great. That whole cast is fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that one. And that's me.
This week, we watched 4 movies that kind of tried to encapsulate our tastes because this is the 400th episode of Raiders of the Podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, wow.
Ooh.
That's... I talk to you guys too much. We watched the 2016 American crime action film. Action crime drama? I would not use any of those words for it. Let Me Make You a Martyr. I read that off Wikipedia. Those were not my choices. The 2000 black comedy crime film Sexy Beast. The 1995 American crime thriller 7. I'm sensing a trend here, guys. And the combo breaker, the 1996 supernatural horror comedy, The Frighteners. Hey, Craig?
Yeah.
Since it's only your 242nd episode.
Not even close. Not even close. But yeah.
Would you like to pick a movie and tell us about it?
I would love to. I'm going to go with Let Me Make You a Martyr. Tyler's choice. It's going to sound like a really backhanded compliment because it is. This is very this came real close to being like a 5 out of 10 film for me. Like it was like I was really so close to being 50-50 on it because there was stuff I liked quite a lot actually, and there was stuff that I really disliked. And then there was a whole lot of stuff I had no strong feelings about at all. So it kind of nearly evened out at just a nice 5 out of 10 film. But the stuff that I didn't like really harms all of the stuff that I did like. It's really frustrating. Like I really like the atmosphere. I thought this had I'm not sure who did the direction and what elements of the direction were between John Swab and another guy, Tyler.
Corey Asriff.
Okay, I'm not sure who did what, but whoever was going for the whole look of the film, there were really well chosen locations. It was shot really nicely, really well lit. It just had a really, really strong atmosphere. Like there's just that kind of, it leans kind of gently into Southern Gothic, but whilst, it keeps that kind of grit to it, that desperation, that end of the road kind of desperation. Like the atmosphere was drawing me in. It was really good, and the score went so well with it. It had this kind of uneasy throb to the score that I really dug. So I've got the atmosphere is really pulling me in, and that could have carried me through, but the script to this film is so fucking bad that it just constantly just dragged me out of the film. Like I was sinking into the atmosphere, I was enjoying it, and then just another awful piece of dialogue would just pull me out. Like the narrative is not good either. It's quite disjointed, but it's passable. I can put up with it. But the dialogue is fucking atrocious. Like if this was a written review, I would spell it like DRE log, dialogue, and I'd laugh and I'd slap my own back as long and hard as Swab does when Well, it's his garbage dialogue. I mean, I cannot describe how much I just disliked this dialogue. It's like he went through Kurt Sutter's trash and took the worst piece of shit that he just tossed straight in the bin the second he wrote it. It was just it's cringeworthy, it's inauthentic, it's so overwritten and contrived. Every line is just so contrived. Like I can see Swab now. I can see him writing this script and looking at these lines that he's written and being so pleased with himself, and then thinking, can I fit in another racial slur? Can I fit in another synonym for the female genitalia? Can I squeeze in another just edgy little bit of it's very desperate and lazy, but contrived is the best word for it. Like, and it gives every character speaks with the same voice as well because of the way that he writes. That was Kurt Sutter's biggest flaw. Because he has a style of writing that he's obsessed with, every character has the same voice, and it just ruins it. It really the script takes a giant shit all over this movie because there's other good stuff. There's a solid cast, but this script is like a lead weight tied to their fucking ankles, and it's sink or swim. And like some do okay, like Marilyn Manson did surprisingly well. Like he makes his voice work for him because he puts on this kind of detached southern drawl, which I found quite chilling at times. Like I thought he was pretty good, and Mark Boone Jr. He's just a reliable guy. He's reliable as reliable gets, and he injects a really interesting kind of self-loathing into that character. Like he does awful things, and you can just kind of see that he actually detests himself while he's doing it. And it was an interesting performance, but I think the rest of the cast are just hobbled by the bad script. To the point where I can't tell who's just not a good actor and who's just falling over the shitty dialogue. Apart from Mrs. Swab, who is just awful, and she looks like a Gap model. Are you telling me she's meant to be an addict?
Yes.
Because she is the
A
least convincing
long-term
addict
addict
in
too.
cinema. She can't. They cannot wipe little dirt on her face. They don't like not wash her hair for a couple of days. Just he put so little effort into that character. It was just he just what he wanted everyone to look at his his young wife and just didn't dare dirty her up a bit. It's aggravating. That and the fact that you should just hire a good actress, but. I mean, it's the script. The script is the whole issue with it, and it's not fair because there are other people working hard on this. Like I said, the atmosphere works, the score's good. I thought the costuming was really good because you look at what the characters are wearing, it does more than anything on the page to like communicate who the characters are. Like there are a lot of people putting effort into this film, and John Swab is taking a huge, great dump over it every time anybody opens their mouth, and that's what took it from the dizzy heights of 5 out of 10 down to maybe like a 3. Like I really really hated this script so much, so much. Like Tarantino has a lot to answer for because as much as I like his films, he made everyone. He created these characters who can't shut the fuck up, and I don't mind it so much when Tarantino does it, and I can deal with it sometimes when Rob Zombie does it. But when Kurt Sutter does it and John Swab do it, it is tiresome, and that's what this ended up being, just tiresome. But like I said, it's a shame because the atmosphere was really strong. I was really impressed by it, but overall, not for me.
I'm gonna go now because I mostly agree with Craig. Mostly, I agree. The score, which is by Ginger Shankar, is one of the strong parts. I will agree that it is shot okay. It's the cinematography is done by Jeff Melanson. Jeff Melanson also did a couple other really nice looking little indies. I just can't remember off. He did the Transcendence. Somewhere No Bridges, and I think one or two others. But like the Transcendence looks fucking great. That's the crap. I can't even remember what it's about. But anyway, but so there's talent in those spots. Mark Boone Jr. does an excellent job. He gives it his all in this shitty film. And he almost makes it work in his scenes. Like, he is doing his damnedest to pull this in and land this. He must have just really felt something in the script. And I'm glad it spoke to him because it didn't speak to anybody fucking else. I will agree. I will agree that I think Manson does the second best job. Manson gives a fairly solid performance. I have a few questions, like, why is obviously white German Marilyn Manson playing a Native American? And why is the only minority character in the film the literal devil with, no connection to anyone else? I don't know. Racism, maybe not. I'm just asking. I'm just wondering. Because there's no other Native Americans in it. Why the fuck is Pope a Native American? It adds or does nothing to the character. It's just there so the big bad is not a white guy. Tragically, I disagree on the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast is atrocious. The lead is the character Drew Glass, is played by Nico Nicotera, and he is horrific. And this is how fucking pretentious this shit is. I believe the cop's name is Karen, like the guy that ferries people across the river Styx.
Well, I did not. This annoyed me. I did not see that twist coming, and I would have done by the way he was talking such absolute shit, and I would have realised what.
Oh my god, this fucking movie!
But everyone was talking in the same voice, so I didn't notice he was speaking in a particularly strange tone, so I didn't pick up on it.
I get it. I get that. I get that. But yeah, no. First off, there's no reason to care about this story. It is done in a disjointed way, but the thing is, you don't fucking care about any of it. None of it matters. None of it means anything. There's no growth. There's no character to learn from. Like, it's not even like a period piece. Like, if you took a movie and made it about characters like this in this part of America, like the Bible Belt has fucking deep issues. This area of, it's Oklahoma, right? Yeah. Okay. Like, there's some interesting shit to be done there. There's some really interesting shit to be done there that deals with these themes, but this movie refuses to do any of it. And it expects you to care about people just because they're people that you see on the screen. There's a couple of interesting ideas, like the bit about trafficking, and it doesn't really understand trafficking, but that's fine. But that's 5 minutes. This is an hour and 45-minute movie, and all the interesting bits are less than 5 minutes. How the church is culpable. It's an interesting thing. I don't know if it'd be Catholics there, but whatever, fine. Like, that's an interesting thing, but it's 5 minutes. All this stuff that's interesting is 5 minutes, and the rest of the time, we're just dealing with absolute horseshit. It's a bullshit story with nothing to care about, without characters, without dialogue, without a look at these people as people. This is like... It's like John Swab jerked off a lot, thinking he was going to turn this into a play and be the next fucking Mamet. And then somebody came along and said, here's a bunch of money. Let's film it as a movie because, Boone Jr. really likes it and he can't commit to a 6-month Broadway run. And he went, yes, let's do it and make the dialogue even more pretentious. No one's ever fucking talked like this. Ever. It's not good. It's not worth your time. John Swab, and the thing is, John Swab doesn't get fucking better. His movies are still just like this. He's flatlined. Okay, Candyland was a little bit better because I could laugh at the fucking Baldwin, but that's it. I will say I like this more than what was the other one we watched with it was Othello, but no, it was Oliver Twist, but shitty.
Run with the Hunted. Yeah,
shitty Oliver Twist. But only a little better. Only a little better because Mark Boone Jr. got like 2 seconds more screen time.
I don't have too much to add, and I don't want to because sometimes it does make my little heart sad to think of how much we might make Tyler's little heart sad week on, week out. Week on, week out? Week in, week out. Anyway, regardless, I didn't like this. I'm sorry, T. I know you're a fan. But on the plus side, I did like Candyland more than Dave. I liked Run with the Hunted a bit more. I mean, that's on par with the Bikeriders, for what it's worth. This, like, I was hoping this would be better because I like Mark Boone Jr., who I forgot appears in 2 of our movie choices this week, so that was fun. I don't think it worked to have the casting of Manson there. I don't think he's a very good actor. Just wasn't great. I wasn't won over by Nicotera. I did quite like Sam Quaterton. I thought she was one of the better cast members. But I say that while struggling to really weigh up everyone on even playing field, because as I think Craig said best, when really I think everyone has the same voice for a lot of this. It certainly feels like this feels like a group of people, expressing dialogue. This doesn't feel like a group of characters acting and interacting as they would naturally. Now, some of them might coincidentally act more natural while expressing the dialogue, but this is a film that is just there for the writers to get their words in and smile smugly and think of how clever they've been and how wonderful their art is, and it just doesn't work. Like the end isn't. I mean, it's not good either. I don't think it doesn't have any impact, because you're realizing where it's gone, and I am in the same boat as Craig, in that we both just message Dave when we have questions about things. So I didn't get the obvious reference and just waited. But when it went there, it wasn't it didn't bother me, and I was kind of irritated by it because it really felt like the whole thing had kind of wasted my time. Because at the end, I didn't get the feeling that I'd watched a satisfying journey for any one of these characters. I know not all films have to have a journey, but this is pretty much in the area of narrative features that would have a journey or things to say, and it doesn't. It doesn't do that. So it's really empty and disappointing. But I think that Swab would get better after this, and I'll still watch other things that he does.
Because you don't have a choice.
Well, I know. They're all coming down the pipeline. I don't know if Ashraf has gone on to really anything else apart from videos, according to his filmography. So I think we might be safe there, unless Tyler tries to make us watch a compilation of his video work at some point. But I quite like some of the stuff that Swab does. This, for me, having only seen a few of his films, this is definitely the least of them. And yeah, it's.
But the most Tyler? No, not even the most Tyler, is it really? That'd be
No, I
Candyland.
don't. I think Candyland or even Run with the Hunted felt like the most Tyler. And I think that's like, although I gave that right down the middle 5 out of 10, I think that still feels like a much better full work than this. This is made up of ideas that are never developed into anything really satisfying. Sorry, T.
It's all good. Look, if I cared, I wouldn't pick movies I love week after week, guys. So it's okay to be as mean as you want, because I didn't make these movies. I just like them, so it's fine. It doesn't bother me. So, for my pick for the 400th episode, I wanted to go with something that kind of fit with the vibe of the early days of something trashy like Tyler. Back in when we first started this, the 2017 days, which just so happens to be a John Swab movie. Who, as you guys know, yes, I am a big fan of his. He's one of my favorite working filmmakers today. I love the fucking atmosphere of this film. It's a grimy southern fried world of like white trash, drug addicts, trailer parks, muscle cars, hitman. I love this world, and I could revel in that shit for hours. This is John Swab's directorial debut. I remember watching this on Shudder like way back in 2017, and as those credits were rolling, I put John Swab and Corey Asrif instantly on my list of filmmakers to watch out for. And Corey Asrif hasn't really made anything since. I mean, I think he co-wrote Run with the Hunted with Swab, but that was it. But Swab has been delivering that Tyler flavored goodness ever since. I've loved all his stuff. Run with the Hunted might be my favorite, though. That movie just works with me on so many levels. But as for this one, I love the story structure. And I know the structure of this movie may turn people off. I get that because this doesn't have that typical narrative structure at all. It's purposely convoluted and it revels in that art house pretentious dialogue, super hardcore. But I love that super pretentious dialogue. It's why I like Terrence Malick. Nobody talks like humans, but I like that shit. I always did. It's also like super slow, deliberate paced, which I also like. It's one of the main reasons why I love this film so much. That slow pacing always just immerses me in this bleak ass world. I think it's great. I really like the cast. I have a not so subtle fetish for filmmakers who put their wives in movies, apparently. But I think Sam Corton is fine here. I've liked her in everything I've seen her in. She's in King Ivory too, which so happens to be John Swab's first theatrical film, which maybe I'll make you guys go see in the theater. Who knows? If it gets a theatrical release in the UK, it probably won't, but it is here. I don't know what date, but it is supposed to come out here in the States in the theaters. But I think Marilyn Manson is fantastic in the small role he has. I loved every scene with Manson in it. His voice was fucking perfect for this character. Just menacing, just really, really good. He's great in this. He doesn't have a huge role, but it's memorable. Mark Boone Jr., he's always good. Nico, I like Nico Nicotera. I think he's fine. I really like Slane, the drug dealer in the trailer. I think he's really good. Did you guys catch you probably didn't, I'm sure you didn't, but did you guys catch the John Swab cameo in this?
No.
Yes.
He is the redneck that gave Mark Boone Jr. the directions to Pope's house with his son. His son took him on the boat. That was John Swab.
It's so sweet that you think anyone else knows what John Swab looks like, Tyler.
Dave knew. Dave
lovely.
knew. Dave
Yeah,
knew, right?
but
right,
Dave knew you would be asking us, so he prepared. He's wandering around the Jigsaw trap house.
Yeah, I saw that he was in it on IMDb, so I was like, okay, well, let's see what this motherfucker looks like. And now I know.
Dave wants to be ready to punch him. He's be ready to strike him.
I could pass that dude in the street and just wham. I am ready now. I have trained.
He's got a white pony tattoo on his arm, so yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, I really like this cast. I mean, half the cast is fucking Sons of Anarchy regulars, so Swab must be a Sons of Anarchy fan. But I also like Kurt Sutter, which Craig doesn't seem to like either. But I really like Kurt Sutter as well. I was a big fan of Sons of Anarchy.
I don't hate Kurt Sutter. I really like his work on The Shield when he wasn't in charge and it was someone else's baby and there was a leash on him. I just think as Sons of Anarchy went on, all of his worst habits just kept increasing and it was unbearable.
He wrote for The Shield a lot, right? If I remember correctly, he did a lot of
he did. Yeah,
he was a producer on that too. For the record, King Ivory comes out May 8th.
Okay, I couldn't remember the date, but yeah, I know it's getting a theatrical run here. I just doubt it's in the UK, but yeah,
there's a good chance Trump kills us all before May. So.
So you guys won't have a chance. Just before he kills us all, let me see King Ivory, and then you can just worry about it after that. But
imagine Trump just like hand over the red button. We just got to wait till Tyler Hosley sees King Ivory, and then Then we're gone.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this movie. I love it. I love all John Swab's work though, so I wanted to go with a movie of his for my pick this week. So big fan. So I am going to pick 7, which is Kevin's pick.
Shock!
Right.
Who could have seen that coming? Oh my God!
Get ready for the G shower.
So 7 is about 2 detectives, a rookie and a veteran, who hunt a serial killer who uses the 7 deadly sins as his motives. I consider 7 one of the greatest films of all time, and not just in the serial killer crime film genre of all time. It's a masterpiece. It's one of my top 20 films. I think it's fucking incredible. It's right there with Silence of the Lambs. And if you guys know me at all, you know my love for Silence of the Lambs. And I don't say that very often, but 7 is a bona fide fucking masterpiece. Bleak, hopeless, gut-wrenching. Every frame is just covered in dark, rainy, filth-covered nihilism. The cinematographer for this has shot so many great films. I mean, a good chunk of John Pierce, stuff, Funny Games, Uncut Gems, The Beach. He's a wonderful cinematographer. And right from that 9 Inch Nails set opening credits, you know exactly what you're in for. And looking back on it, actually, there's really no violence ever shown on screen until like the very, very end. It's all pretty much aftermath of the murders. But Jesus fucking Christ, do they stick with you? Just seeing a Polaroid picture of that blade strap on and hearing the description of Leland Orser being forced to fuck the girl is 10 times more disturbing than actually seeing the act. It's just brutal, just absolutely fucking horrifying shit. That scene with Pitt and Freeman walking through the sex club to get to the lust victim is one of my favorite sequences. That thumping electronic club music, the red lights, it's perfect. Perfect. Cast is amazing. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are fucking fantastic. Even Gwyneth Paltrow is great here. The best she's ever been. Her character is like the only ray of sunshine this film has, too. She's really good in this. I really like Gwyneth Paltrow in this movie. Kevin Spacey, yeah, the dude is an awful human being in real life, but I think his performance is excellent here. I really like his performance. Whatever he does in his personal life, I'm just judging this performance in this movie. He's really good in this. Just loved him as John Doe. And that ending, that fucking ending, I'll never forget the first time I saw that. My jaw legit hit the fucking floor. For me, like I said, this is a perfect film. David Fincher knocked that shit out of the park. There's so many 7 copycats out there. And honestly, I love them all, every single one of them. I'm just a massive sucker for these procedural genre films. I adore them, but there will only ever be one 7. 7 is a classic, just masterpiece.
Don't mind, you go.
All right.
I was just going to shout a general. We should probably shout a general spoiler warning for all the films this week.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything. I mean, I'm going to talk about the ending, but not what it's about. Just about why it's wrong. So I'm going to mostly agree. It is beautifully shot. The cinematographer is Darius Khondji, who is an Iranian-born cinematographer. He did City of Lost Children, Evita, Alien Resurrection, The Ninth Gate, The Beach, Panic Room, Funny Games, Amore. He's done a ton of Haneke. Lost City of Z. He just did the new Bong Joon-ho film. Mickey 17. The novel is Mickey 7. I couldn't remember how many Mickeys they added. He did Uncut Gems. I mean, the dude knows his shit. And it is an awesome looking movie. The screenplay is where this really shines, by Andrew Kevin Walker. Andrew Kevin Walker did 2 other deeply loved Tyler movies, 8mm and Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, 8mm for sure.
Yeah. He was a writer on Tales from the Crypt. He was a writer on The Game and Event Horizon. I think he did uncredited rewrites on Stir of Echoes and Fight Club. I mean, he's mostly has done uncredited rewrites as a script doctor. He was one of the 7 writers that worked on the 2000 X-Men. He's been around a long time. He's written a lot of really solid stuff. I think he wrote The Killer for David Fincher also recently on Netflix. I think that's him.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean he's done some really, really good stuff. And this screenplay, man, like usually I like to just mock things that try to be too smart because they like miss things, and they get so much right. Especially when it's talking about the different literary things it comes from. It doesn't quite get the history of the 7 deadly sins because they were originally the 9 logimoti, that is the font of all sin. And it doesn't understand, especially the last 2 sins, because okay, John Doe fails because the last 2 sins are the hardest to do. Wrath fails because wrath has to be directed at an innocent person. And it has to be long term. You can't, taking out a guilty party while angry is okay in terms of sin. Biblically, it is not the sin of wrath. It is not wrath by any definition. It's just expressing your emotion, which is okay. Of course, envy is a long-term sin that all other sins are birthed from. So, I mean, there's no way that was a long-term because of the setup. So he fails at the end, and the folks are like, oh, he pulled it off. No, he didn't. And maybe Morgan Freeman's the only person in the film that realizes this, but he doesn't tell anybody. So, what's the point? Arlie Ermey is really good in his supporting role. Pitt is actually really good. This is one of Pitt's best performances. The way he plays Mills, and Mills is just not up to the task, and the way they show it in a lot of ways is really, really well done. Morgan Freeman is excellent. I agree. This is probably one of Paltrow's best turns. I mean, she's really good in some other stuff too, to be fair. Richard Roundtree's little part is good. There could always be more Roundtree. John C. McGinley is fine. He pops up in a couple scenes towards the end. I disagree. I don't think Kevin Spacey is very good. I don't think he plays John Doe well. He plays him too much as a movie serial killer. He doesn't come off as true or real. He comes off as what he is, a fictional creation that doesn't quite understand how these people are. And that's fine. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that there were better choices in both casting and acting than what they went with. But ultimately, that's a failing on the screenplay and Fincher more than Spacey. But, fuck Spacey. He's overrated trash generally. Mark Boone Jr. pops up and he's really good. Richard Portnoy has a small part. He's excellent. Michael Massey shows up in a scene.
Yes.
Always excellent.
Is this one of his only, he didn't do a lot after The Crow. He kind of went away, didn't he? Was this just after The Crow? It might be just before, mustn't it?
It's I can't
remember.
The year after. It's 94, 95.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he did more. I mean, he kept working, but he did smaller stuff, except for his Spider-Man cameos, and he did some voices for Marvel in the mid 2000s.
Was there ever a movie where he and Billy Drago played brothers?
I don't know.
Because there should have been.
Or lovers.
Because I'm always like, he's got a bit of Billy Drago about him, and then I'm like, oh no, it's Michael Massey.
Leland Orser is really good. Again, I think they have the wrong person targeted for the sin of lust. It should have been Orser's character, but what the fuck ever. I mean, it does a lot of stuff that's really good. It does a lot of stuff that's not so great. I think the ending, again, they fumble it. If that's what they're going to do, they needed to have a better expression of it for me, just for me. I know it works well for a lot of folks, but it's a solid one. I mean, it's well directed. It's well cast. There's a lot of fun little parallels to bits from the Inferno, like the relationship with Mills and I just brain farted on his name. I wrote it down like a dozen times.
Somerset?
Somerset, yeah, thank you. does kind of mirror in a way Dante and Virgil. They spend their whole movie in the circles of hell in the city until the end, where they come out into a field, just like that's how, Inferno ends. I mean, there's a lot of fun little touches. And there's ones that I'd like to mention that I can't. Like one's inability to leave where they are, even though they really want to. There's a lot of really good bits. It's a good one. I give it props, but I will say I do think anybody that needs to cut off a pound of flesh and they don't cut off their hand at the wrist deserves what happens to them. I'm just saying. 1 hand, 1 pound, you're good.
Oh, they were told they couldn't have any bones in it, or.
Oh, well then. That does make it more difficult.
That definitely complicates matters.
That does complicate it. Yeah. Okay.
No bones or organs or.
Well then, yeah. Then the love handle makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. No. That makes that. I got you.
Dave, you never listen to the serial killer's instructions now.
When did they say that? I've watched this movie like 40 times.
He didn't actually say it, but the quote that Somerset uses a quote and attributes a quote to it, so I guess.
Oh, okay. See, I missed that entirely. Okay, well then, my bad. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I like in it. You don't even want to know how many notes I wrote about the history of the 7 deadly sins. I got into it. I really did. I mean, like I could talk about how they got sloth wrong, but sloth is a hard one because it's really indifference. So, I mean, how is that sloth? He was tied to a bed. How is that indifference? That's not indifference, but whatever.
If you sign up to our Patreon, you can hear Dave talk about this for 7 hours.
This
7 whole hours.
This is why we don't Patron, because I would do that. I would happily just set Tyler down and I would just talk his ear off. And it would be 6 hours of me just pontificating, Tyler occasionally going, huh.
I love you guys, but like I'm not calling it Patron. just so you know. I've signed up to enough of the fuckers. It's Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah, it is.
The tequila.
If you sign up to our Patron and pour yourself a Patron,
yes,
you can hear my 6-hour dissertation on the history of the 7 deadly sins. This is why we will never have a Patreon, because I would do that shit and we would lose money. People would charge us for it, and I feel bad.
I give you a chance to read from all your tiny scribbled in notebooks while you're removing your own fingernails.
God, you have no idea how close that is to the truth. I mean, my fingernails are intact though. They're kept in a different bucket.
It's funny actually. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned we were talking about Dr. Strangelove. I was talking about the directors that were. There were a lot of directors after Kubrick died. Were like, "Is this a new Kubrick? Is this a new Kubrick? Is this a new Kubrick?" And one of them was, oh damn it, the name is completely left me.
Fincher.
Fincher was one of the ones people discussed. And as I said then, the only avenue where they discussed them being like Fincher is a certain technical specificity, a certain exactness in the way that they did things. And I can see why they did with Fincher, because he has got that in spades. He has got that technical specificity. Like, this is the first time I watched this film in 4K on the big TV, which is the closest I'm going to get to seeing it at the cinema. And the craftsmanship is just it's really insane. Like, I don't think I ever gave this film enough credit for how incredibly well made it is. Like, the set design is impeccable. The cinematography is fantastic. The shot composition just wonderful. The color grading has been poorly imitated by a million films afterwards, but it looks fucking great there. The rhythm of the editing is incredible. There are establishing shots in this film that are just kind of like awe-inspiring, absolutely beautiful. But most of all, like, because it was in 4K, the textures of this film. It sounds strange, but I cannot overstate the value that this film, the visual side of this film, puts on texture. Texture of the costumes and the sets are so considered. Like, I can't imagine how much everyone got, the amount of effort put into crafting this film kind of blew me away. Like, James Cameron was tinkering away in his little lab, like probably wearing an adult diaper, trying to make his, Avatar 3D effect, 3D for the, proper 3D. And I feel like Fincher beat him to it by 15 years because his film is, the textures are so incredible in his film that it practically feels 3D. Like, in terms of building a world from images on the screen, like seven's hard to top. Like, it's kind of mind blowing. I'm gonna watch it again quite soon because with the sound off, I just wanna look at how that was put together because it's really, 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 really impressive. I really like the cast. I know Denzel Washington turned down a role in this. Was it the Somerset role he turned down? I mean, I assume so.
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
I mean, if he did, it was kind of a gift because, like, I love Denzel, but this film absolutely needed Morgan Freeman. It needed his kind of world weary, like, broken heart. He is the absolute.
No, he turned down Brad Pitt's role.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Like a film at that time would have had like 2 African American leads. Cause,
it probably would not have been Morgan Freeman if it had been Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Freeman's fantastic. I think Pitt is really, really great in this film. He plays the perfect shitty cop. He's a great bad cop. Like, he's impulsive and he's immature and he's impatient, and he feels no less justified in his shitty outlook and his shitty actions as John Doe. And Pitt plays it. He plays that frustration at kind of realizing that he kind of sucks really, really well. I really like Spacey. I think he plays the arrogance of that character incredibly well. But he also, underneath the arrogance, is subconsciously knowing that it's just empty. It's empty superiority. It's empty superiority built from a. He feels inferior. The pontificating, hiding just shitty inward feelings. I think he plays that really well. And I think, interestingly, as he's introduced to the film, Pitt is really the only one of the two, out of him and Somerset, who actually understands Spacey. I think Somerset tries to speak to him on like a grander level, and Pitt realizes that this guy's just a piece of shit, just excusing his foul fucking actions. I love all the bad guy actors. Ermey, always good. Boone Jr., always good. Michael Massey, Reggie Caffey, always good. McGinley, Layla Dawson. Layla Dawson was so good, he was typecast in this role for decades. It's crazy. And even Mrs. Gloop is really charming. Really charming in this one. It's a really strong cast. The script is really fantastic when it's conversational and it's focused on the characters. Like, it is surprisingly funny. There's some really funny moments. Like, I love the soothing, relaxing, vibrating home sequence. That whole sequence of him Somerset stuff for dinner is really good. But my favorite is Pitt's pronunciation of Marquis de Sade. Just always cracks me up. It's when the script turns to the investigation, that's where my issues are. And I don't know, maybe social media has blunted it, but I've been on too many like pro-life threads for like this character or his crimes to be particularly interesting. They don't seem that extreme anymore. They just seem like, just kind of weirdly tame because of the way I've seen people behave, and the way Spacey's arrival and the interplay, it does liven it up. And like I said, I love the way that Pitt has Doe pegged in a way that Somerset does not. But again, I don't know. I have issues. I have issues like Dave with the ending, but for different reasons. Like there are holes in it. Like I don't believe that Doe would abandon this like grand plan that's years in the making to like suddenly include Pitt's character, do like some sort of freestyle jazz murder when he's been planning this for years. I don't believe he'd do that. And that delivery truck is getting nowhere near them. Nowhere near them. Not even 10 miles. So those bits annoy me. What I think really bugs me is there's no agency. The script gives the characters little agency at the end. Like I don't really care if Pitt shoots him and he apparently wins because he's winning for 1 second before his brains hit the desert. I feel like Somerset should have shot him. And I
He
feel
was
like
supposed
Somerset
to.
should have shot him. What he should do.
That
I mean, it
was-
seems to be leading there because he's the character who's lost his
Yeah.
faith. He's presented with an opportunity to do this noble deed, to defeat evil. He talks about having never fired his gun. It seems to be leading to that point, and it would be a much, much stronger ending for me. But he just kind of just bears witness.
Well, it's something I mentioned before. It comes back to Dante. Virgil can't leave hell. Somerset can't leave the cops. That's what it is at the end. I agree with all of your points, but that's what they're going for. It's another Dante reference.
But I also get your point. Like it doesn't register as wrath when you're telling a man who's already pointing a gun at you, a man who you know to be like, impulsive and immature and impatient. You're telling him to put down the gun. You're telling the other guy's telling him, I just cut your pregnant wife's head off. That's not wrath. It doesn't really count. And the only agency at the end there is Spacey not getting that final split second of smug superiority, which you would get if Somerset took the shot. But I guess I can't complain about what it is, and I should take on board what it is. But the more I watch it, the less satisfied I am by that climax. But in terms of just in terms of how well made it is, it's an absolute it's a stunning piece of art. And a movie that I really like a great deal.
Same, but now we're old and nitpicky.
It's quite nice that most of you have said everything I would say about this. I know, like this is another case of me knowing that this isn't a perfect movie, but for me it's a perfect movie. Like it's a 10 out of 10 movie. I know there are holes in the plot. I agree with Craig's idea about what he's suddenly going, jazz improv with his grand scheme. I agree with the fact that the sloth thing isn't in any way actually like that plausible, but it's a great jump scare. Really fantastic. I agree with a lot of minor criticisms of it, but they are minor criticisms. The big picture is superb. I think it might have been this film that they discuss on there's a documentary about film versus digital. I can't recall what it's called. It might just be film versus digital. I can't remember. Keanu Reeves is where the main thing is. I think it might have been this one where Fincher was saying about, part of the risk is also, it ties to reward. I'm sure it was the library scenes in this where they had it lit in such a way, and Fincher was like, well, yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell until you got the film away and then developed. And he's working with Konji, who did so. It was either that or it was some like scenes in Fight Club or something. Or maybe I'm just talking out of my arse, but I'm pretty sure it was some of this. It's just a fantastic movie, and as against spoilers as I am, I was working in a factory when this came out in cinemas. I was dying to see it, and I hadn't long been in this job, so I was getting changed. And two guys came in and just fully discussed the ending of this. and I was fucking raging. But I was a new guy, and I'm not going to start throwing fists because I've just heard the ending of a movie that was at the cinema. But I was just sitting there like, oh, you fuckers. Like, what? Why would you have that whole conversation
I'd have
here?
thrown down. I'd have punched a
Yeah.
bitch.
But I think it is testament to the film that it, the rest of it is still good. It's not just about the ending, but it is the ending as well. Like, it's all leading up to that. Howard Shore's score seems to find a way to just keep building and building and building. And it does that because there is a break, there is silence. But when you're getting through that end sequence, it's constantly building up until it cuts out, and then it's building up again. And that's superb. When that van comes along, I agree that it's not getting anywhere near that. I mean, I now just have a chuckle to myself, like if that was in every van, I imagine the box left on someone else's doorstep, and you just get a photo of it saying "Sorry, missed you." And somebody else in some avenue opening a box, like, "What the fuck, honey? Have you been Amazon shopping again? What?"
You've been on
I thought it was just.
Something's gone really, really horribly wrong.
I thought it was just another box of fanny candles. It's a head. So even with that in mind, I still just love it, and I appreciate that that there's been praise given to. Like, I think Pitt is really good here, and I think the first time I watched this when I was quite young, I thought it was a bit odd the way he was at the end, and I'm watching it now, and he's like many other characters in this film. Like, he is just mentally wrestling with a definitive choice that is going to change his life, and his sort of teariness, and then his grit to point the gun, and then his losing it again, his grit. I think it's just brilliant. He's gone through this complete arc, and he has still felt like quite cocky, and he is the. Craig would say he's like not a great cop in that, and I think I don't know. He's still well intentioned. He still believes he's on the side of right, and that as is going through the film, that is the difference between him and Freeman's character.
Him
But
getting the Cliff Notes books is quite
yeah,
adorable in its own way.
yeah, and I think that's another part of the little bits of sly humour in it. Like, I always laugh at that bit, and then he's hiding them in the drawer when he goes in, and Morgan Freeman's in the office and stuff. But he, when he's having conversations with Freeman, he doesn't he never actually says to Freeman, "Yeah, I read this that and that." He says, "Yeah, I read that," or he says something like, "Yeah, I got the gist, like read it." He doesn't want to outright lie about it. He's kind of saying, "Yeah, I got the notes," and I think he's good in that because he's just absolutely dismantled at the end, and all the way through it before then, he's not, even at that moment where he is caught with a gun to his head and then let away. Like, that is a bad time for him, but it just makes him. He's like, we're going to get this guy. That's it. He's really good, and you see him with Paltrow, and they're sweet, and you even get that feeling in the scenes that aren't necessarily building the tension that they don't feel like they belong there, because that this is a kind of place where things would just get worse and worse around them in terms of the hustle and bustle of the city and the crime. But I just think this is it's a phenomenal film. It's got an amazing mix of supporting players who pop up, so many familiar faces. Including Orser, who's like that guy. I mean, was it was it a decade he just spent shaking like a shitting dog on camera.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it. And Mark Boone Jr. as well. Again, the guy getting the library list. I even like those scenes. The guy getting money, paying for this list, and then later on, Brad Pitt's getting the money, and that's quite funny when he's chatting to somebody who's used as a witness for when they're entering a property. It's really good. It's that perfect mix of entertainment, grit, and yeah, like a real gut punch. I think it's fantastic. So I'm glad that it went down well. So I can tell, can never quite tell, especially with Dave.
To go back to where you said at the end, Pitt is wrestling with, a decision that will affect him, for the rest of his life. That's another part where, but Pitt might think that, but that's another part that doesn't really work for me because that's getting covered up. There's no whether or not he shoots Spacey in the head, that will have no effect on him. I don't think.
I mean, I disagree. I mean, I know what you mean in terms of it getting covered up. There'll be an official way that's done, but like the whole episode itself has affected him in that way. You know what I mean? Personally, I don't mean like career wise that. And I think that's the thing that got me this time. I sort of felt more the impact of the different people. I know that you'd mentioned, we'd had a laugh about Leyland also before. That scene is really affecting, and like although we have made light of it, like that is someone who's never going to be the same. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of different times that even when they're talking to the widow of was it the guy who cut off the pound of flesh?
Yeah.
Like there's so many people they talk to that whether you think his plan comes to full fruition or not, he's definitely always made sure there's someone that's never going to be the same after that, and that reverberates through the film for me.
I still think Pitt's right that he's a movie of the week.
Yeah,
he will not be remembered for very long.
No, I agree with that, and in the grand scheme of things, I agree with that. But when we're there watching the movie, the people that we get to see, we see snapshots of people that have had a moment where they've been changed completely.
Absolutely, but he's over thinking the grander impact of his crimes is because it's not going to be that big.
I agree, and I agree, and I don't know if that's deliberate or like a slight failing. When Dave says about the stuff that's actually wrong about his plan, I mean, I think that's possibly from his own like smug superiority, but not being matched by his actual intelligence or planning of it. That will be me with Oh, I've got a choice, haven't I? Sexy Beast or the Frighteners? Gotta go with the Frighteners. Gotta go with Dave's pick. The Frighteners. I shouldn't have gone with the Frighteners because I forgot. You've got to summarise the plot. So, Michael J. Fox plays Frank Bannister, who is a man who can see ghosts. He can use those ghosts to rustle up some business for himself, and then he goes in and cleans out the homes of these spirits. This has been Michael J. Fox's gift since the death of his wife. There is now a spirit who goes about who can kill spirits, and he has to get to the bottom of things. This is a horror comedy / kind of action movie, directed by Peter Jackson, written by Fern Walsh and Peter Jackson, and I absolutely love it. I love the Frighteners. Even when I'm watching it and remembering the bits that I don't love as much, I'm kind of mentally slapping myself in the face saying, fuck up, Kevin, you fucking love this. Because it's wild, It's brilliant. The fact that there's so much over the top stuff from Jeffrey Combs is a bit off-putting, but also I love seeing Jeffrey Combs being that over the top. He is an FBI agent called Milton Dammers who comes in later in the plot. Anyway, I really love this. I think it's a great idea. Michael J. Fox having the ghosts that he works with, being the judge played by John Aston, Cyrus played by Chi McBride, and Stuart played by Jim Fife. That's great. I think the backstory is great. And then you have a main character played by Dee Wallace, who has a murky and potentially dark past. You have Lucy Linsky, played by Trini Alvarado, who is a person who Michael J. Fox may be able to help after she recently loses her partner. And you've got a great supporting cast as well. Troy Evans is the local sheriff, Juliana McCarthy as the mother of Dee Wallace's character, Arlie Ermey. Again, we've got some connections that are quite fun. Jake Busey being brilliant. He is Johnny Bartlett, which, spoiler alert, he is the spirit killing spirit. And he's obsessed with matching the number or topping the number that is attributed to various serial killers. This, to me, The Frighteners is kind of, for better and worse, the Peter Jackson film. And I've argued this point a number of times with different people and put the case forward. It's where he started to sort of lose his way with stuff being a bit overlong and not being as sharply edited. It's where he showed that he could work with a variety of stars and a bigger budget and put forward a strange and wonderful vision on screen compared to just his earlier, going to say, the Splatterfest and the stuff. Heavenly Creatures was before this, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think.
It's why she's called Linsky. Actually, Melanie Linsky has a cameo in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's there for about 30 seconds. But it's, so he'd done sort of low-key stuff. He might have done the fake Doc Forgotten Silver before this. I can't remember the order. He'd done his sort of his splat stick work, if you like. This really showed that he could do stuff that might appeal to a broader audience, although it didn't when it came out. And it also, I think, was kind of the birth of Weta, and the spirit killing spirit, to me, always feels like a starting point for what would be the ring race in the Lord of the Rings film. I think this is a really important, arguably the most important film in Jackson's filmography, and it's those things that all come together. Whether other people end up liking it as much is a different matter, because there's so much here that's over the top and a bit out there, and it's really densely packed. I think the plotting twists and turns in a way that I really like, but some people might think there's just always too much going on. But I think it's nicely balanced, and there are a couple of really good turns. I think the development of a couple of characters as you go into the finale, it's just really well done, especially starting as it does. There's a sequence that works really well, and then you find out different things later on that offer different perspectives. I love it. I think Michael J. Fox is brilliant in this role. I can't recall if it was this or other TV work when he first started to notice his Parkinson's and use different tricks to sort of keep his hands busy and stop the shakes. But he's really good here. It's bit of a different role for him, I would say. He's less sort of cool and assured. And obviously at the start of the film, he seems like a much more just low down, sleazier kind of guy until you start to find out more about him. But I think he's great. And I think he works well with everyone around him. Alvarado, I think, is a really good female lead here. She works really well opposite Fox. And the rest is just like a bunch of treats for genre fans, especially like some Aston, Combs, Wallace, etc. I could go on for ages. I'm trying not to, because I've probably already just made this sound like a big confused ramble. I'm sorry.
Can I go? Yeah. Yeah, I've seen this one a lot of times. Like back in the day on, I think on VHS. I don't think it appeared on DVD for a long time or something. But I watched it a lot of times on VHS. I was a big fan, and I was excited to revisit it. And I had issues, and I think the issues I had, it's tricky. There's a difference between casually watching a film and watching it for this show, and I think this is a perfect example of that. I have to pay attention to certain things that normally I would probably just let wash over me, and they just became issues for me this time. I mean, there's loads of positive stuff. Like, I think it's one of Danny Elfman's best scores. It's a fucking fantastic score. For someone whose scores all sound fairly similar, this is a real, like, standout. The concept is really fucking inspired. I don't think it's used to its fullest, but it's a really great concept. And the design work and all the ghosts is really strong. And I love the supporting cast. I love John Astin. I love Jeffrey Combs. I love Ermi. When you see those three actors, you think, okay, I get why Dave picked this. I get why this is a Dave film. It's got two great villain performances. One expected and one really against type villain performance, which I think is really strong. I think my problem with this is I think there's a great concept, really good cast. The connective tissues are missing, like kind of like Aston's ghost. Like there's no connection between any of these characters, and so I don't really care about any of it. Like it needed to spend a lot more time building the relationships between Michael J. Fox and the ghosts that he works with, and definitely between Fox and I can't remember the actress who played the female lead. Their connection is instantaneous and built on nothing. So I really couldn't understand it. It's kind of bizarre. There's no time spent on the connections between the characters, and that it made it a bit of a drudge at times for me. Like, and Kevin says that, like, I kind of get how Fox has played a different character, and yeah, also I feel like Fox was quite an uninspired choice. I feel like he is reaching into his old bag of tricks and just pulling out slightly altered ones. I just don't think he's a very. I would have liked Coombs better as the lead. Why can't the guy with the lead breastplate and the hemorrhoid donut be the lead? Why not? Why can't we, you know, take the lead in one of these films? I don't know. I didn't particularly like Fox. I didn't particularly like the female lead, and I just don't think the relationships were well built, and that bugged me. And I think the script's a little weak as well. I mean, nothing really sticks out in terms of the dialogue. There's a scene where Michael J. Fox is in he's in the graveyard and he gets the two big machine guns from Ermi's ghost, and the female lead's being attacked by the villainous ghost, and he pops up with these two giant machine guns, and he just says, "Hey, asshole!" And I think you've written a movie, you've taken time to write a movie. Can you write something just a little bit sharper than "Hey, asshole"? It just, I don't know. I feel like this has lots of good moments, but it really is just skipping from one to the next without, like I said, the connective tissue. It's just it's not there. And you normally, I think in the past I've watched this and I've not cared, but this time it was a bit of an issue. And the visuals were there's a bit of a split with the visuals as well, because like I said, the ghosts are really well done. There's some dodgy CGI, which I let that go because it's the era. And I think this might have been the presentation. I think it might have been just the version that was on Now TV or whatever I watched. But the visuals were just kind of muddy. There was no sharpness to them, so maybe that was just the presentation. But I don't know. So I watched this and I've always really liked it. And I got about an hour in and I was just feeling really uninvolved. And I was enjoying it, but I was uninvolved. And then it does pick up quite a lot for the third act. That third act is really good. It's really fun, and the set pieces are really well designed. And I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but I don't know. I just wanted. It's a bit like when we had Tammy and the T-Rex. So I talked about them doing a cartoon of it. Like I'd rather not have the big villain that we have in this film. I'd rather watch a film about Michael J. Fox and his ghosts conning people. That stuff's far more interesting, and there isn't enough of it. And I tell you what, there's one more thing that bugged me at the end. And this is a really, really like personal to me, and it's weird. And I get that it's nobody's fault, but when you go to heaven and you see your dead wife, and your dead wife says, "Nah, you can go back down now and date other people." That sort of kind of fucks with me a little bit. And that's nobody's fault, but
that was a weird inclusion. Yeah.
That's kind of just go down and just fuck that other girl for a few years, but then come back to me. I mean, I don't know how any of that works. I think it sounds like quite a confusing arrangement, but I don't know. I think the next time that I watch The Frighteners, I will enjoy it a lot more. I'll go back to the VHS days, and I'll just let stuff just wash over me, like the character's not quite connecting. But it did bug me a little time, and sometimes that's just what it comes down to when you're watching a film to review for the show and just watching it for a laugh. But I still liked it, and there's so much good stuff, and I'd die for John Astin's character in this, which is why I wanted more. I wanted definitely more of that character, more Coombs, all the Coombs. I guess that there's stuff I loved in it that I wish there was more of, and stuff I didn't like so much that I wish there was less of. But I still enjoy it.
I gotta say though, while I remember, sorry to interrupt, guys, but watching The Frighteners always reminds me to check out if Shortland Street is still on, and that's been going for like 33 years. Since 1992 that was going, because I used to catch the odd episode of Shortland Street, and then you see Peter Jackson films, you're like, oh, that's him from Shortland Street, oh, that's her from Shortland Street, and whoever plays his dead wife is or was a Shortland Street regular at some point. And
now you'll see the Shortland Street cast in all of Taika Waititi's films.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, they're always popping up in his films now.
So there was one guy who played a character called Greg, who I've seen in a couple of films. I think it was Greg. I was like, he's been the big time. Shortland Street is the big time, baby.
She left Shortland Street in 2016, just for the record.
Are you sure she didn't go back, Dave?
She was there 93 to 99, then she left. It came back in 2001 to 2003. It was back in 2007. Then came back from 2009 to 2016. That is the most recent listed for her.
Fair enough. Because she was, I mean, I looked up and it was like hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Wow.
Yeah.
Getting that big Shortland Street money.
She was in a lot. I don't know why she hasn't returned again. Maybe she will. Who knows? Time will tell.
We should cover Shortland Street on the podcast every episode. That's my next pick.
Oh.
No.
I do not like the Frighteners. I never did. I keep hoping I'll grow to like it because I like the cast, but it just seems to get worse every time I watch it. I do like Michael J. Fox as the lead, though. He's fun. Jeffrey Combs is good. Jake Busey is fun, and it's always good seeing Arlie Ermey pop up. But he's just always awesome. I don't think any of the comedy lands at all, which, like we always say, comedy is subjective. So again, miles may vary. But then it switches gears and tries to go for more drama, which also doesn't work. It's a clash of tones, none of which mesh together at all. And it makes the whole movie feel like a total fucking chaotic mess. The CGI is really bad too, although it's bad in a mid '90s kind of way, which I find super charming. So I ain't gonna knock it for that. But
it ain't no Spawn CGI.
No. I mean, it doesn't look like a Windows 95 computer, more Windows 97. So around that era. I don't know. I still find it charming. I find bad CGI in the '90s charming. I don't know. So, like I said, I'm not gonna knock it for that. Casper looks better than this, which is shocking, and that came out the year before. It's not Peter Jackson's worst film though, because The Lovely Bones exists, and if The Lovely Bones sits in your filmography, that'll always be the worst. I haven't seen the Hobbit movies, so I can't compare it to those. I'm sure. I don't know. I'm sure they're better than this. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Hobbits, so I don't know. But I'll end on a good note. The VHS cover for this gives me like hardcore nostalgia. I remember that lenticular VHS cover being on the shelves of the mom and pop video store I used to go to all the time as a kid. And it's a movie that I wish I liked, and I just do not, because I like Peter Jackson a lot, and I like this cast a lot. Movie does not work for me at all.
I love this movie, as you could probably guess since I made you guys watch it. I love John Astin. I agree with both Kevin and Craig, though. It does feel like there's more there. Like, this feels like it should have been a TV series, because there's a lot of ideas crammed into 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that does kind of hurt it. I like, unlike Craig, I like Trini Alivado as the love interest. I again, yeah, she needs a better relationship with Frank. But I enjoy most of the cast. I like the effects for their time. I will say that Hey Asshole was the height of mid-90s wit. So I don't know what better line you'd replace it with at the time, except maybe, hey, motherfucker. But they were trying not to get an R rating, which they got anyway. Then they opened against the fucking Summer Olympics, and like Universal was shocked the movie didn't make gangbusters for the what at the time was the third American Olympics in 100 years. Now it's like every other Olympic, so we don't fucking care anymore. But then we did. So, you know, it's a shame that the movie didn't do better, because I'd like to see another dip into this world. I'd like to see the time between the movie and when the wife died, with Frank being a total gloomy bastard with the judge. Frightening. But that's just me. All right, so to cap it off, our last movie was Sexy Beast, the 2000 black comedy crime film directed by Jonathan Glazer in his feature film debut, written by Lewis Mells and David Shinto. Stars Ray Winstone, Ben Kingsley, and Ian McShane. It is about Gal, a retired criminal who has retired to Spain when he and his wife Dee Dee are visited by a mob recruiter named what's his fucking name?
Don Logan.
Don Logan, to recruit Gal for a heist. It's been a long time since I've seen Sexy Beast, and I do like Sexy Beast. There's a lot I like about it. I think the cast is generally really good. I think it is easily Winstone's best performance. I think Ben Kingsley is a bit of a mixed bag, though. I think the problem is just with the character Don full stop. He doesn't have, like... He's at a 10 from the start. So when he's at a 10 at the end, while it is played wonderfully, it just kind of lacks the punch it should have. He is at that level from the moment he shows up, and at no point do I understand why he's even going there and pushing so hard, because they've already got like 40 guys on this job. Gal is totally useless.
Well, that is explained.
Is it? because I've seen this movie more than once and it never clicked for me. I've missed it repeatedly.
Don is there for one of the female characters.
Oh, well, is that why? But then he's still pushing for it.
But he's also.
I'm just saying.
I don't want to get into it, so we'll wait until my turn.
Now, maybe I missed more than that because, I remember that, but okay, and it's been 20 years. Again, I just don't think the reasoning clicks for me, and that's a problem because, you could cut 20 minutes out of this and it wouldn't hurt it that much because everything that happens is inevitable. So why spend so much time dragging it out? I like a lot of it. I like the evil bunny man in Gal's Nightmares. I like the folks that play their friends and his wife Dee Dee. And, McShane is excellent. The heist is fantastic. I love that heist. That heist is great. It's a good one. It's not one that I wouldn't say it's a favorite of mine, but its highs are really high. The problem is its lows are really low for me. There's just too much. It needs to be thin and raw and grittier than it is. It's okay, but it's very much just in a pack of its time for me.
Lionel. Sorry, that was the last movie. It was Lionel, not Greg. If people are listening to us waiting to know the Shortland Street character.
Aha!
I get there in the end.
I don't want that person to listen to our podcast anymore. They give me the creeps.
Anyway,
please go away.
Oh yeah, Sexy Beast. So I've been sort of waiting for an excuse to rewatch this one for a long time. I knew Craig was wanting to make us watch it at some point, and I remember liking it. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Glazer. For me, Jonathan Glazer has not missed. He is, I think it's 4 for 4 right now.
He is the true new Kubrick, which I won't rant on about, but that's just my view of him.
I think he's fantastic. I think Sexy Beast came along at I don't know if I'm sounding like a pretentious arsehole for saying this, but if this kind of film was coming along at this time, it needed to be something like this. You could have, you've got a dozen films from Nick Love, and you've got everybody trying to redo Guy Ritchie and deliver Cockney gangster movies and ride that wave. And Jonathan Glazer comes along and is like, oh, let's do this. Let's have Ray Winston as the softly spoken guy being pushed around. Let's have Ben Kingsley being the psychopath of Don Logan. I think it's great. That's enough. That's enough to give it an unusual edge. And then you get the surreal touches in there. Even the opening with the swimming pool damage is fantastic. I just think it's great. The imagery here is superb. I think the script is it's really well done. I don't think it's perfect. I don't agree with Dave, but I do think there is something a bit lacking in the way Kingsley's character is so determined in his pursuit, in his way to get things arranged. And that becomes more obvious when the focus shifts to Winston being alongside Ian McShane, who I always forget really does well to almost steal this movie in the third act with another great performance. It's really good. And you forget because that's coming along in the third act. So you're still, whenever you rewatch Sexy Beast, you're caught up in the tension of the main characters who are basking under the sunshine in Spain when Kingsley's just making a mess. I really like Amanda Redman. Julianne White and Kevin Kendall as the other two. And I looked up Julianne White, and it turns out she has been married to Mike Batt for years. So she would have had a hard day of being threatened or glared at by Ben Kingsley's Sexy Beast, and then could have gone home to her husband, shout, "Remember your Womble." So that is a nice, it's a real touch for her. I really like this. I think that the heist is well done, but it's about how they deal with Kingsley's character, and then it's about how Winston is alongside McShane, and really kind of proves that Kingsley's character was just forging ahead on his own path and largely inconsequential in terms of the sort of organized crime shenanigans that you would see in this kind of movie if it was a more standard, like, Cockney crime caper. And I really like that. It has all of the not all of them. It has the tropes, so it's aware of them, and then subverts a lot of them and plays around with things in a really satisfying way. So yeah, it's great. Even though Craig just wanted to make us watch Ray Winston and his budgie smugglers getting attacked. All the stranglers, please.
You know what's funny? I always forget this is a Jonathan Glazer movie. It doesn't seem to get mentioned a lot when folks talk about his filmography now, which is a shame because it's fucking great. Birth is my personal favorite from him. That movie is incredible. But Sexy Beast is a super close second. The cast here, man. I mean, they're all so good. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but I think this is Ben Kingsley's best performance ever. I mean, on paper, it's weird to imagine Gandhi playing a psychotic heavy, but he fucking nails it here. I mean, Kingsley intimidating Ray Winstone just doesn't seem possible, but fuck, he's so good at it. Winstone is also brilliant here, just as well, and Ian McShane is great too. I cannot praise this cast enough. They're all great. The dialogue is super sharp. I wish I was British so I can say cunt all the time and not be called a misogynist, because cunt is a fun word. It's beautifully shot, crazy stylish. I mean, that scene with Ray Winston sunbathing is actually a gorgeously composed shot, just gorgeous. I mean, every scene on that pool deck looks fucking amazing too. I mean, the cinematography here is top notch, just top notch shit. I was surprised how funny it actually is too. I mean, a different kind of funny, like pitch black, dry British humor funny, which usually I can take or leave. But like I said, this script is just firing on all fucking cylinders here, and the humor works so well within this tone, and everything just gels together perfectly. Just it perfectly to make this wonderfully little weird British crime heist flick. It's great stuff. Like I said, Birth is my favorite, but this is so close to being my favorite Jonathan Glazer movie. Just so close. Great stuff.
Yay. Well, I picked this because I'm not the rubber monster guy. I think I may have given people the impression that I'm the guy. I like Night Beast. I adore Night Beast, but I'm not generally the rubber monster guy. If we're talking about the films I love the most, the films I love the most are the crime movies, and specifically, I love films about the outlaw life. People who have taken the left-hand path, so to speak. People who have chosen to step out of society and live outlaw lives. Those are my favourite films. They are what fascinates me. And this is a big favourite of mine. This has been hovering around my all-time top 10 movies for a while. And I think it might have nudged its way in here. I mean, first things first, that title card. Did anyone else... There must have been so many frames of Ray Winstone in his tiny pants where they had to choose which freeze frame would go with that title card. And they just nailed it. This is Ray's little Winky just flapping about, pause title card. It's one of my favorite title cards in cinema. It's just it kind of it sets the course. You know what you're getting after that beautiful first title card. Yeah, this would be a favourite of mine if it was just like Ray in his speedos being yelled at by Gandhi for an hour and a half. I could deal with that. Would just be wonderful because yeah, I'd just be fine with the tension and the humour like playing off each other throughout. They do. Glazer does that so well. You get a tense moment, you get a funny moment, you get a tense moment, you get a funny moment. The pressure is built and released so well, and it's such a funny film. Like there are different types of humor. There is lots of dark humor, lots of dry humor, but there's some very like broad, silly humor in this. Kevin Kendall, who plays, I can't remember his name. He's Ray Winstone's friend. He died.
Isn't it?
H. He died just after this was completed. He didn't get to see it released, and it is a great shame because his contribution to this film is wonderful. I love the ending of this film. I can't spoil it, but it just there's a return to like silly normality, but I absolutely love. There's a conversation about people about haircuts and special haircuts, drugs, but it's just so silly and so wonderfully done. I absolutely love that ending. But I'd like I said, I'd like it if it was just that for an hour and a half. But what works for me is what keeps bringing me back is Don. I am fascinated by Don, who he is, and what I think he represents. I mean, who he is. Don. I'm not a psychiatrist, but he's got some sort of like antisocial personality disorder, and I with each watch of this film, I feel for him a bit more. I feel more empathy for him. He's awful. He's an awful human being. But the thing I realise watching it every time is that he is as lonely as it is possible for a person to be, and so completely stark raving mad that he doesn't understand why he's alone, why no one wants to know him, and he's lost in that, and it really, I hate him, but I feel for him so much. The reason he's there is not he's there because he has a thing for one of the female characters, but also there's the thing that he represents. You go on Facebook and you see anybody express joy on Facebook, anyone, you will see 20 people come in and comment after it, trying to spoil their joy, trying to shit on their joy, and that is who Don is. He says at one point to Ray Winstone, "I won't let you be happy. Why should I?" And he is just a he just wants to smother all joy because he cannot experience it himself, and it's something that I see every single day when I go onto Facebook or when I used to go on Twitter, and it just it just makes him a really fascinating character to me. Like he, he'll never he would the great tragedy of Don Logan is that, like Kevin said, he dies and it has shit. Well, spoiler that it has no effect on anyone. He is not missed. I always feel that if Ray had turned up to the job first day and said, "Yeah, I killed Don," he put his hands on my wife, killed him, he's dead. No one would have cared. That nobody cares about that man, and I feel that there is a real element of tragedy to that just makes me just makes Don a real fascinating character to me, and I like everything else about it. I think Ray Winstone is the ultimate wife guy actor. Like if you watch all of his best roles, he's married, and he treats his wife better in some roles than in others. He's not so great with the family in the War Zone and the one that Gary Oldman nil by mouth, but his marriage is always important in his best roles. It's quite an interesting avenue that he seems to want to keep exploring. And this is my favorite Ray Winstone wife guy role. He's really good, and I really like Ian McShane as well. He's such a like he just it's a simple thing, but Ian McShane does the dead eyes like few people I've ever seen in this film. There's a scene when they're in the car together and another car passes, and the only part of his face you can see are his eyes illuminated, and they are the most stone dead eyes I've ever seen. He's fantastic. Um, little question. Here we go. You can win a prize. I don't know what it is, and it doesn't really exist. But This is one of 3 films where Ian McShane plays a gay gangster. Anyone know the other 2?
I don't.
No, not offhand.
Can I have initials?
Of the films, one is TV, and the other would be bloody hell, FIC.
You're not sure about that.
I'm not. I'm tired. He
I've
plays.
I've gone blank on Ian McShane films. Full stop. Actually.
40-inch chest and the villain. 3 movies where Ian McShane plays gay gangsters just through, I don't know, just weird coincidence. So there you go, little bit of. I bring in the trivia this week. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love the little surrealistic justices as well. They're almost like Lynchian. Those little shots, like the lovers embracing in the night sky, and that fucking rabbit, and the last appearance of the rabbit is, and I always love the failed murder of a rabbit early on. It's just. And I love Peaches by the Stranglers. It's still in my head. I watched this last week and I've been humming it all week long. I love, there's so much I love about this film, but it's Don that keeps pulling me back in. I will never ever watch the prequel TV show, and yet I want to know Don. But we never find out, and it turns out nobody really cared about him anyway. Yeah, I love it. I love this film. Letterboxd says I have logged it 5 times, which means I have watched it at least 10 times, knowing how terrible I am at logging films on Letterboxd. So yeah, I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
All right, it's time to pick one.
I'm sticking with my own this week. I'm going with 7.
Yep, I am also going with 7.
I am going with Sexy Beast. If I was being a little bit more objective, I might give it a 7, but I'm not. I'm being 100% subjective and just go for my personal favorite.
I'm also going with 7. It was close. I almost went with Sexy Beast also. Sexy Beast is really well made. It is a solid one. I love The Frighteners, but it is not better than those 2 movies, objectively speaking. But 7 is really well shot, so 7 takes it.
7 is. I don't ever watch the special features on my. I'll go and get like the best version of something. We'll say 24 hours of special features, and never watch the special features. I just want the best version of whichever film's out. But I am going to start watching the special features on the 7 disc, because I want to watch them make this film, because it's meticulous.
All right, so next week it's me and Craig. Craig, what is your pick?
Well, I thought because it'll be our 401st episode. Well, not mine, but it'll be your guys' 401st episode. Why not celebrate one of our most covered filmmakers of all time? One of the filmmakers we've covered the most time on the show. So I will be going with Neil Breen's Twisted Pair.
Wow, that's
Fuck you. Fuck you.
That's crazy, because I was thinking along the same lines actually.
Oh God!
But I am going with Neil Breen's Twisted Pair sequel, Cade.
Jesus.
Tortured. I can't even read my own writing. The tortured something.
Double. Hey, we once did 3 Breen films for 1 episode, so
yeah.
What,
I mean,
is this real? What?
Oh yeah.
Did you do a film after Twisted Pair?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a sequel.
He did a sequel.
Why am I dragged into your scheme to hurt Tyler so badly? I know this has been cooked up behind the scenes, you bastards. There's been a Breen scheme.
I just want you to know that one of these films is classic Breen, and the other is the worst thing he has ever made by a considerable distance.
I figured it was coming anyway, so we might as well just get him fucking over with.
Tyler and I will just start a splinter podcast. We'll be like the Judean People's Front. And just tell you to fuck off if you're the People's Front of Judea.
You know the week following next, I'm gonna just have to go full porn, Tyler, and just pick
Yeah,
the
I
Texas Vibrator Massacre, right?
I'm-
Straight up.
I know.
Straight up. Cum shot.
Kevin's catching
fucking-
so many strains.
I made my peace with that. I was aware. I know what I did.
I feel
This is gonna
like
be
Tim
brutal.
Roth at the back of the car, raising my dog's like, I'm fucking dying.
Just choking on cocks the whole fucking movie, just gargling cum. That's gonna happen. We're on Instagram, Raiders_of_the_podcast. We're on Facebook, where I sometimes remember to post stuff on Wednesdays. We have a YouTube channel where you can watch Kevin dying next week. We have a Discord where I post cock pics of all sizes daily, not the genitalia, the chickens, you fucking perverts. We have a Blue Sky, and you can always email us at raidersthepodcast@gmail.com.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me, guys. I will talk to you next week.
Yay! See you guys next week.
See ya.
You're a snake in the night.